Hey everyone, I'm Jose Caballer and I talk about the design of business.
And I'm Chris Doe and I talk about the business of design.
Excellent.
What are we talking about this week?
We're going to be having a conversation similar to the one we did last week when we were in the car driving to Art Center, where it just flowed. So we're going to flow. It's really
try something different, huh?
A little bit different.
All
it is a topic. I mean, we're talking about the ask, asking for the sale.
Say that again?
The ask. The ask.
Okay, great.
A-S-K. It's like Sesame Street. A.
Andrew, you have to cut to a graphic.
A-S-K.
Okay.
You have a specific,
let's take a step back.
Let's take a step back.
2 weeks
Why
ago,
are we doing this?
Yeah, 2 weeks ago, we started out with, before you can get to the ask, which is about asking for the sale or a meeting or a job interview, whatever it is that you want to get out of a meeting. And a lot of us are really reluctant to do that. So last week we talked about confidence and making that your core and being able to build up who you are around a singular pillar if you have one. And the other thing we talked about is once you have a meeting, you need to be able to listen. So we talked about it, and it's called active listening. And if you've ever seen a therapist, they talk about this all the time. Yep. Active listening, it's a skill. So before you watch this one, my recommendation is watch the other two first and give this a little bit of context, right?
Links below.
And we know some of you guys super impatient types, disregard my advice and you'll watch this one anyways. Okay.
Or go back and watch them.
Go back and watch. All right.
Yeah, so today's episode again is the ask.
Asking for the sale.
And that's for the rolling the title card.
Right.
Okay, so let's talk about that a bit. We both have different styles.
Right.
I advocate for one way, you advocate for another, but we use similar systems. Let's talk about the different styles.
Okay. So we're going to break this down into how we do it individually. In kind of like 3 steps, right? Yeah,
3 steps. This is how I do it.
Okay.
And you like it when I go first, so let's back up the conversation as it relates to sales.
All right.
We started working together about a year ago, or a bit, actually probably longer now. And it's been interesting to see the different sales processes in broadcast and in digital.
Right.
So I come from a consultative selling background. You come from more of a project-based, job-based selling.
Job-based, that's
like
right.
The job. So you're more like the biz guy, designer, and I'm more about the longer-term love delivery kind of.
I like the way you say that. Like the business guy is like the robot, and you're like sitting there in the flow.
Like, yeah.
All right.
Man.
Okay.
All right.
All right. Enough of that.
Cue bong.
Don't try and like box me in like that.
All right. So. That was weird. That was not a bong. It was like noodle
That was
soup.
spaghetti.
Yeah.
All right, stay on topic.
So the passionate artist versus the business person, or the designer.
The business designer.
Yeah, the business designer. I have the tendency to, and when I was running my agency, to do a lot of education up front, to deliver a lot of value, to spend a lot of time courting a customer and taking sometimes 9 months.
Or longer.
Or longer.
I've seen you.
Before closing a sale.
Yeah.
So I'm very patient and play long term.
You're doing the long tail.
I'm doing the long tail. You, on the other hand.
Wait, hold on. I want to talk about that. I think I'm there with you on that because I used to have a hard time actually. Maybe yours is by design. Mine was out of fear or a lack of understanding of how to ask somebody for a job. That I would engage in a conversation, and I would get to that point like when you want to ask the girl out, and I never did. And so everybody would walk away, maybe a little frustrated, not knowing what the other person's intent was.
You didn't seal the deal.
I did not seal the deal.
Yeah.
I didn't even go for the kiss.
Right.
Forget seal the deal. I didn't even go for that.
Okay.
And so I can really relate with you. But here's one of my frustrations with the way you do it is afterwards I'll come and ask you something, and I said, well, did you get the job? Did you get the engagement? And you're like, no, I don't work like that. Like, what are we doing? Why are we doing this? So
right.
From your passionate artist point of view, what are you thinking? Like, why is that okay? Because my time is valuable. I have a family. I got a company to manage. So I don't want to have meeting after meeting and not get to something. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but it wasn't about meeting after meeting. I didn't have.
No, I'm not. I'm just saying for me.
Yeah.
Or my people. Right.
It was. So I'll give you a very concrete example.
Okay.
Thomas Keller, the restaurateur. The reason it took a long time is, they were getting some funding or they were getting some money, etc. That was one example of why it took 9 months.
That's okay.
After the beginning.
That happens too.
That happens.
But if you were clear with asking for the job, and the process of getting the job took a long time because of
there was no
approvals
bid
and funding
or anything. It was
but
just like
I'm talking about people who don't even get to ask. is there a project that I can work on?
Is there a project we can work on?
Right?
Yeah,
where they're
that's
just kind of
weird.
beating around the bush.
It said, no, my lead gen, my process, the way that I had developed the sales process, which by the way I have completely outlined, really depended on people knowing that we were experts and them coming to us saying, hey, we would love to work with you.
So you want the clients to ask?
Yeah.
That's kind of weird.
We built, no, if you build an awesome brand,
Yeah.
you want people like knocking at the door trying to take your clothes off. You know, that's how you want your company to be. You don't want
That's the ideal state.
It's too mechanical.
That's the ideal state. So I see the
man.
motivation behind what you're doing. So you're out there, you're speaking, you're educating people in the hopes that somebody recognizes that in the audience out there in the universe and will call you up for an engagement. I saw you do X, I saw you speak at Y, and therefore I want to engage you in a project.
Influence.
Right.
Influence.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
how did that work? How's that working out for you?
For what? Because I don't do services anymore.
Well, for your consulting business,
But I don't do consulting anymore. The people that I'm consulting with are my friends. I'm not out there saying, hey, I do consulting, you know, and pitching jobs.
So why are you out there speaking then? What's the point of speaking and educating?
For the last
and
2 years or
influencing it?
recently?
What's your goal?
The goal has been to build the school, has to build validation.
Okay,
as an
so is it
expert.
to educate people so that they're enrolled
To
in
share,
the program?
yeah. To share authentically.
Not even to sell.
No, you can't have the motivation. I had this realization even this week, for over the last several weeks, how transactional I am and how many of the friends around me are very transactional because I've been focused on being an entrepreneur and growing a business and versus just being and delivering value and letting that, you know,
That's kind of very hippie.
Yeah, thanks.
Put out good energy in the
Yeah,
world.
put out
and
good energy, man.
Maybe something will happen.
Something
I know
will
you're a
come
big
back.
believer in karmic equity.
We talked about karmic equity
I'm a
a few
believer in karmic
episodes.
equity too.
So wait, okay, talk
All right.
about how you do it.
As it relates to the advertising world that we used to live in or still live in, most of our leads came in through reps. But there's a big transition that's going on right now, and it's kind of forced me to be more active in reaching out to clients directly in markets that my reps are not looking in, right? Traditionally, we serve advertising agencies and their clients. And now when I meet a person on the street that maybe has a $10 to $30 million company, they have the same needs, they just don't have access to that same level of creative work. And so now I have to learn how to be a salesperson. And so through my business advisor, who I've been working with for almost 10 years now, he's taught me something, and I've been using it in the last 4.5 months, and it's been working out really great. So let me tell you the setup, okay, and then perhaps some of the ways that I combat that. Usually, when you're on the receiving end of a sales pitch, it comes out abruptly and it becomes really awkward, at least from the people that don't know how to do it. It's a high friction thing. It puts you on the spot, and what you will get is an inauthentic response to that. For example, Jose, when are you going to invite me over for your barbecue?
Yeah.
So that makes you feel really uncomfortable.
It's too abrupt.
It's really abrupt.
It's too early. It's closing
We
too
haven't
early.
established anything, any rapport. You haven't expressed any interest in wanting to bring guests. And so
Right.
I'm just going in for, when are you going to ask? So what you might say is like, oh yeah, I'll send you an invite. And guess what? I'll never get the invite. And that's what's happening right now. So if you're asking that way for a sale, it's a high friction way to do it. Chances are you're going to alienate the person, and you don't want to do that. And that's the only way I knew how to go for the ask. So here's how I break it down now. When I meet somebody, I want to be able to determine, is this somebody that, what's our relationship going to be like, and how should I frame it in the context of my mind, right? Is it a student-mentor relationship? Am I the student? Are they the mentor? Is this a potential prospect for doing business with? And so what I need to do is determine 3 things, right? For me, if I'm looking at them as a business prospect, because we're talking about sales today, is 1, do I like the person? Am I getting good energy from you? Are you super self-centered? Are you out to kill the earth and the planet? And
So you're listening to them.
I'm listening and I'm learning.
Yeah.
So I want to know, it's like, do
Who
I like
are they?
you?
Yeah.
Do you have good vibes or not? Who are you? Okay. The second part to that is, do you have work that I can do? So I like you, and you have work, but it's not work that I can do. For example, you need help with landscaping. That's not something I know anything about, right? And though you have work opportunities, it's not something I can do. So
Right.
do I like you? Do you have
Is
something
there
I can do?
work?
Is there work that I can do? Now here comes the big one. Can you afford my services? Because I meet a lot of people who want to hire us and they have $500. Now, that might be a lot for some of our viewers, but for me, that's not. And I can't work like that because we have an, kind of big system overhead here, designers, producers, coordinators, all these kinds of people that we have to support.
So it's the budget
$500
big enough,
is the budget big enough. So that's the first thing. I need to know, can we continue this dialogue towards the sale? And that's how I do. How do you do it?
It's similar. I mean, it's a qualification. This is somebody we want to work with. I mean, we try to qualify even before the first meeting happens. I mean, there's a lot of meetings that you take on kind of more casually, right?
Yeah.
But going back to that, if you came, the lead came through a referral, it's a different, it's much more warmer. It's like you already know. We try to do a call first to make sure that it's not, a waste of time.
Yep.
So that we try to get the do we like this person and do they have the money
Right.
Kind of part. And qualifying somebody financially is hard. And you ask really well. It's like, do you guys have a budget? Do you mind sharing it with us?
Right.
That's a really
what have you
simple
spent on something like this in the
Yeah,
past?
yeah, what
and then
scale
they
projects
kind
you
of
have.
start to hedge a little bit, and you just say, give me an average. I won't hold you to it.
Is it like what I usually ask is that? Is it between 50,000 or is it 500,000?
Right.
And that's it. And they say, oh, more towards the 50. And I'm like, okay, I know what that is. When a client is coming in at the $500,000, because it's usually a more corporate project.
Right.
It's usually the VP or the director of a particular company. So when you're selling direct, knowing and having a profile of the person really makes a big difference. Like I actually make and create a profile based on their LinkedIn. Simple thing, knowing them really well.
Right. Okay, so here's the thing though. Most designers are very introverted. And so even this idea of talking to people at a party or something like that might be really awkward. So I have a little bit of advice because I'm just like you, to be honest, because I'm that dorky business guy, right?
Yeah.
I'm the wallflower at a party. I'm super uncomfortable being there.
Yeah.
And I've been working on it. So one thing I've been doing is I try to engage people randomly in the street, anywhere, at a restaurant, in the elevator, and just have a conversation with them because I want to build rapport with people and I just want to listen to them. That's all I want to do. And so that when I meet somebody on an airplane or at a convention and I target them like that's somebody I'd like to do business with, that then it doesn't become awkward and weird for me because that's the first time I'm doing it. Does that make sense? So I'm practicing all the time.
You're practicing all the time.
I'm practicing on an old lady. I'll have a conversation with or the server at a restaurant. I'll ask them, like, you have an accent. Where's your, where are you from?
Yeah.
Tell me about that. How does this work? Tell me about your family. What are your
Digging
goals?
deeper and deeper.
I just want to know.
Yeah,
I'm learning about them right there. I'm not trying to close anybody at that point. I just want to learn.
There's no close on that.
And you made a comment before. When you saw me do that, you thought I had other intentions, right?
No, I was making fun of you.
Oh, okay.
It was at Tender Greens, which is awesome, but I'm like, Dan, you're like a popular guy here, and you're friends with everybody. Winning Friends and Influencing People by
Dale Carnegie.
Dale Carnegie. If you haven't read that book, you should read it. Look, people are just as afraid of you as you are of them. The reason why you don't talk to people is simply because you're afraid of being judged. You're afraid of being thought less than. You're afraid of being thought weird. You're afraid of, how many times when somebody says, look, we're all weird. So they are thinking exactly what you're thinking.
So the next thing that I do is something I learned is.
So hold on.
Okay, sorry.
Hold on. Recapping. Your first one is have a clear goal.
Have a clear goal.
Do you like them?
Right.
Can you work with them? Is there work for you?
Yep.
And can they afford it?
Correct. What is yours?
My first process is about delivering a lot of value. Let's call it delivering a lot of love outwardly. And here's what I mean by that. That you did workshops, that you did webinars, that you did, you spoke at a conference, that you gave to your community.
What if you're that person that's in transition and you're not at such a stature that you're speaking at conferences?
Can. You totally can.
Like the people that attended our workshop.
You can do a webinar.
This is where this is coming from, by the way.
Okay.
People at our workshop are saying, great, I'm a big believer in strategic planning core. Love it. I need to sell it. I need to ask for the sale.
Right.
So I'm not sure what you're saying. It's like a roadmap for them. Because you're talking about a year out that they might.
No, it's not. No, I'm not.
Because they got to get on the convention.
No,
they
I'm
gotta
not.
speak.
No,
okay.
no. You see,
Relate
that's
it
a total
to them
mistake.
then. Okay.
That's a total mistake.
All right.
You're not going to get invited to any of that stuff because nobody
No,
knows who the freak you are.
No.
Right. So, do it yourself. So, for an example,
Who's going to watch it? What do you mean?
who cares who watches it? So
Okay,
you see, you're already
explain.
transactional. You're worried about like, wait, what am I getting out of it?
No.
Or who's going to be out there watching it? I'll give you an example. I did a breakfast. I happen to be really obnoxious, so it's really easy.
Let's frame it like this. You speak to that person. Imagine one of those people at our workshops.
Okay.
One of those volunteers, let's just say.
Okay.
What are you going to tell them? You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Talk to that person.
First of all, it's not about a time frame. So if you start measuring it and being all quantitative, like this guy right here, you'll never really get to what you need to do. You need to actually invest the time and spend the time finding the opportunities to do such a thing, meaning speaking, sharing, etc. It could be as simple as you set it up for yourself. You know, you set up a webinar using GoToWebinar. It could be as simple as, and you know, with Tatiana Luthi and I, we've been doing a conference. You know, those conferences, they just came out of nowhere, and she's now learning how to put them together. So they're not, and she's not the most, like, you know, she's more like you than she is like me. She wouldn't have done that naturally, you know, put together something like that. Volunteer. Here's what I did. I volunteered for Opportunity Green when I had my agency to see how a conference is done, to see how they did it. And they had me be a speaker on it. Yes, I gave them $100,000 worth of services. I did
how
their
much?
logo to speak and to get to participate and to be on the board and to meet all the people I met there. But it set the foundation. You know why? Because then we got green projects. Like I leveraged that into $500,000 worth of an engagement with one of the networks here in LA.
All right, so if you listen to this guy, from my point of view, you're going to be doing a lot of free work, volunteering and speaking at things, and probably making videos that nobody will ever watch. Meanwhile, you've got this crushing weight of loans, bills to pay. You got to move back in with the parents. So my thing is, you got to get to yes or no fast so you can move on. There's this fear like we can't ask for it. So I want to say to you guys right now, from my point of view, you got to go for the ask. And you got to scaffold towards them. We're gonna talk about it. I'm gonna teach you how to do it.
Talk about
and
this scaffold.
I've had incredible success. All right. So we have two very different approaches. That's okay.
But
the world's big enough for two different points.
Yeah, but it's what are they either right or wrong? Here's
no. It's about what's right for you.
Right. But I actually no. I think you need to do both. You can't do one without the other. You will suffer.
Right. So when you've got your primary needs taken care of, food, shelter, clothing, you can go for this kind of more hippie approach that you're talking about.
No, it's not a more hippie approach.
Some of these people, I think, are going to be in this camp where, you know what, I got freaking bills to pay.
And they're going to choke.
Well,
here's why they're going to choke. Says
you.
me.
All right.
So here's why. Because if you are saying go in for the close, you're talking 18 years into having, you know, a successful business or, you know, having a business.
Okay. So says you.
Early on, you can
I've got some young guys here who I've been sharing this with. I think they're going to be closing business at a higher rate for more money.
I'm not saying not to close and not to close fast. I'm saying that you need to build karmic equity.
I agree.
However you do it.
You can do that simultaneously. My number 2 is, okay, now, the way you avoid that awkward ask is you have to build towards it. Okay?
This is in one conversation.
This is in one conversation.
Okay, go
so
for
the first thing is I've already, and we can role play a little bit.
All right.
Right?
Yeah, go for it.
So
I'm the customer.
Who are you?
I am the CEO of a small eco-friendly bottle company.
Okay. So tell me what a day in your life is like.
Well, right now I'm working on increasing our distribution. I'm working on our marketing, which is mainly non-existent. A lot of it has been word of mouth and through our reps. I'm trying to figure out what our brand is and having a bit of a hard time figuring that out.
And why is that?
Well, I'm not a brand guy. I come more from manufacturing and from distribution. I used to work before at another bottle company that made aluminum stainless steel bottles for eco-friendly folks. So I'm not really I'm not that necessarily versed in marketing and web and all that kind of stuff.
And how long have you been in business?
We've been in business 2 years, actually 3, and we're doing fairly well. I mean,
wow.
Revenue-wise, we're about at $1.5 million.
$1.5 million. And what kind of growth are you experiencing in the last 2 years?
Right now, the biggest challenge to growth is having distributors who see a track record. They like it, what they see, but they don't feel the brand is as strong as some of the other competitors.
That's interesting. So right now, you've been able to grow it with what your area of expertise is, it sounds like to me. But now the next hurdle is to get the branding, the communication, the marketing materials kind of in order.
Yeah.
And do you think that's going to help you grow and take you to the next level?
I think so. I think it'll put us at a better light with the people that we're selling to and the regional reps, et cetera. And it'll allow us to go to, to trade shows and have a better presence. Like right now, our presence at our trade shows is not great. It's pretty
So
good.
who's doing your creative work right now, your marketing? Is it an in-house team or you're not?
Yeah, we've been doing it all in-house. I've been doing some of it, and I'm not that great.
Okay.
But then also we just hired an intern who does, graphics and who's pretty good at it. They're a marketing intern, and they've been doing it.
So would you consider maybe working with an outside vendor that has some expertise in branding and marketing?
Well, that's what we're looking for. And what happened recently, we raised some capital. We were able to, private, is from private investors.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And a good portion of that we want to invest in marketing.
Great. Well, I would love to be able to present some work to you. If this is a relationship that you think might be a benefit to your company, I'd love to follow up with you and give you kind of a short presentation on our capabilities, because I think we can really help you with your branding, your strategic positioning, as well as some of your marketing needs.
Sure, I would like to. I mean, Jose Caballer referred you to us, and he's pretty awesome, and he used to do stuff in that space, in the green space.
I hope that doesn't taint our relationship.
No. We really like him. We wanted him to do it, but he's now working with you. So, that was a very self-serving.
That was super weird at the end. All right, what are we doing here?
Yeah.
Okay, Jose. First, if you can, tell me about how this conversation went for you as the CEO of an eco-green company.
That was great. And actually, you went into we would like to show you a presentation about our capabilities. It's still...
Because I haven't established
Right, you haven't established your validation.
Right.
So I'm like, yeah, I would like to see that.
Right.
I'm curious. I mean,
Right.
I like you already.
I didn't know that.
You came referred.
Only at the end did I discover that.
You came referred. But that always is the case. There's always...
Right.
Or we found out about you here, or the web, or we saw a video, or this. I mean, very seldom is it random from the phone book.
Sure.
Never happens.
Sure. That wasn't that smooth on my part because I was very cognizant of what you were saying. I was trying to stay in the conversation. I didn't know the context. Usually I know a lot more of the context.
Because you did your research before that.
Yeah,
but that was great.
I know what's going on. And so,
but notice something.
Did it make you feel weird at all?
No, it was great.
Okay.
I
I let you do most of the talking, right?
Yes.
And I want to learn about you.
Yes.
So as you were talking, I was doing little mental checks in my mind, right? Oh, he needs branding. He needs this. They're growing. How much money? And you volunteered the revenue part, which most people don't. Which is
most
awesome
people
that you
don't.
did
Yeah.
that.
But by the way, I was also
You're helping me?
Right. Well, no, I was structuring it to what an ideal would be.
Oh,
this is
okay.
what the ideal
You could have
conversation
been more of
would
a
be.
normal.
You want me to be more?
Nah, we're not.
How about that? How about you play the hard ass client and I
Okay.
play the trying to get the information
let me
out
pretend
of
to
you.
be a tough client.
Yeah, you're a tough client. You're
Okay.
the more businessy
Hold on.
client.
Let me just get. Yeah. Okay. Method. Okay. Got it.
So, and I'll play myself, the passionate kind of artist, kind of designer.
Okay.
The passionate designer.
Right.
So who wants to do good?
No,
I do that.
You took my line.
I took your line.
You freaking wanker.
Okay, do it again.